welcome back. This video is going to be the next part of our food app series. So in the previous video, we implemented the restaurant listing. And now in this specific video, what we will do is that we will implement the detail screen of our restaurants. Okay. So without wasting any time, let's just get to the code. And here's what we need to implement. Yesterday, we implemented something like this. And today we are going to implement this, right? So this is basically the image, same image. This McDonald image is going to be same over here, right? And then the title is going to be the same title, and then these things again will be same. Description will, if there is like any sort of description in the restaurant, we'll add it over here. Else what we will do is that we'll show the uh, popular items that are there, for example the products or product of that specific restaurant, right? So without wasting any time, let's just get to the code. And here's what we have in terms of code. Here's what we have implemented till now. We have this card that is there. We have these categories that are there. We'll definitely implement the categories as well. But for now, let's just start working on this. Okay. So now this is important. When user click on that, we'll take the user to the next screen, and then over there we'll show some sort of details of that specific restaurant that has been selected. So what we need to do is that we'll get over here to the code, and inside this Java section, or like in the main section, we have this UI components, and inside that we have these features, which is auth and home. So now over here, what I'm gonna do is that I'll create a new package, and that package should be called as restaurant underscore details. Okay. So now this is details, and then over here what we will do is that we'll create a Kotlin class. Now let's call it restaurant details screen. That is going to be a simple file, and now let's just call it a composable function, and that is going to be restaurant details. Okay. There are a couple of things that it needs. For example, it's gonna take a nav controller, and it should also contain a restaurant. So basically there are two ways. One is to pass like the restaurant as a whole object, right? And the other one would be to pass an ID and then make another web call over here and to get that restaurant. And since there are something that we have there that we can use, so what we can do, we can either use this whole as a restaurant, or pass a couple of things that are important. For example, let's say we want the name of the restaurant, right? And then we need an image URL as a string. So like, let's say these two things are there that are important, that are needed, and along with that we will also use restaurant ID. That is basically I think it's going to be UUID, so it's a string. So that's something that we will be needing. Okay, these are important, and I'll tell you why these are important for us. Okay, that's the screen. So now what we'll do is that we'll create another Kotlin class, and this time this is going to be uh, called as restaurant view model, and this is going to be a class. Okay, and now since this is going to be a class, what we will do is that we'll make it a view model one thing, and other than that what we will do is that we will make it a hilt view model. And you know that once you create a hilt view model, what you need to do is that you need to inject the constructor, so that if like there is anything that you need, you can access this. And you might, I think that should be enough. Okay, so now we have this view model set up, and you know what we need to do. The next is that the first case is going to be wall. uh, it's going to be a sealed class, and that sealed class is going to be the restaurant event, which means the first case is nothing, success, error, and loading. And other than that, then what else we can do is that we need to make some sort of navigation to home events that are basically going back, or let's say going back event, or let's call it go back. Okay, and like if there is like any sort of error message that you want to display over here, that you can do, so that's also there. I'll also make do one more thing, so that is going to be navigate to product details. Okay, and that is basically going to be a product detail. And now again, for product detail, what we need to do is that we need to pass that product. So that is going to be data class, and over here we'll pass it wall product id as string. So like if there is anything that you want to pass this way, you can pass it like that. Okay, and now let's just make the other one to be like that as well, so that it doesn't fail. Right. Okay, so now this is done, right? So what you need to do is that first you can just get that restaurant call, which will give you a couple of restaurants, right? The next thing that you can do is that you can add something like this to it, and the restaurant ID is the first one. So let's just take that first one as dummy and replace that like this. And now you can see that now I have this food item that basically like an object that says this. So now what we'll do is that we'll copy all this list, and we'll go to our Android Studio, and inside this Android Studio, go to data. In the data we have this models. Now inside this model, let's just create a new Kotlin data class file from JSON, and then paste it over here like this. Okay, now over here that is going to be food item response. Okay, now when you generate that, it will create two different things. One is going to be the food item, which is like these kind of thing. This is going to be a string that is a nullable, and this is basically a food item, basically a list of foods. So that's pretty much what it should contain. We'll basically add more thing into this, but for now I think these things are enough. Okay, so now we got this, and now we'll go to our view model again. And now inside this view model, what we need is that we need a list of objects, right? So the first thing that we need to do is that we'll call it wall UI, call it private wall UI state is equals to mutable state flow, and that is going to be now once you do that, that's one thing. The next thing is going to be wall has state flow, so that it changes, and then the other one is going to be wall underscore navigation event is equals to, and this is going to be shared flow, like mutable shared flow, and again we are gonna say that is a navigation event. Okay, and we'll call it like this. We'll import all these things. The other one is now the success case. When you get over here, this is a basically success case, and once the success case is done, what we will do is that we want the list of item, like the food items, to be passed. So let's make it food items, and they're going to be a list of food item. Okay, so this is important, and since it's a data object, we need to make it a data class so that it can handle this, keep these values inside it. And the other part for this is going to be is function get food item, and this is going to be uh, coming from our from our UI screen, where basically we pass the ID. So that is going to be an ID that is a string. And now once that is called, what we will do is that we will call it view model scope dot launch, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to make it a login call. Then we need to get a list of food items to be called. This is not like how we should be doing. It's going to be more like a safe API call. And then over here we'll pass a couple of things. So first thing that we need over here is that we need the food API, right? It's basically injected. And now over here we'll call it food API dot get food item for restaurant, and over here and under that we'll pass this ID. Now it will not work because definitely we don't have that. So what we are gonna do is that we go to our food API. Now over here you can see that we don't have that. So what we are gonna do is that we'll say get, and then over here we'll pass the endpoint, and this is going to be success function get food, and that is going to be, now this is important, this is not going to be a query. In fact, this is going to be a path variable, which is something like this. Okay, now this is the restaurant ID that is going to be the path, and what we are gonna do is that I'm gonna take this endpoint from here and paste it over here, which means now slash restaurant slash this thing should be changed to restaurant ID. So like make sure that you have this thing same as it is under the curly braces, and when the API call is made it will basically replaced, and in term of response we are expecting a food item response. So that should be how it should do. And now once you do that, you can see that it basically worked. And now what we are going to do is that we'll say when the food items, more like a web call, or let's make it a response. This makes sense, right? So when the response is a success, which means now the response should contain a data, and that data is going to be food item, so which is a list. And if it's like error, the response is error, what we are going to do is that we'll say error is equals to response as error, and from there we can take the code again. You can get that code from there, and along with that code you can set the error message for that. And also you can set, like if you have like some sort of error messages and values for the output, let's say for error case it is going to be var error is equals to empty, and then error description is also empty. So you can just like set these based on that code. Let's say when error, so like if 401, which means like there is something happened, I just take these two values, use them like this. No, let's say like this. Okay, so now what does this mean is that you can set some sort of error messages as like unauthorized, and then the next thing is going to be error description, that is going to be a not authorized. It is an error. Okay, let's make it error message. We have two different messages, so let's just do it this way. Let's say we have a 404 as well. So for 404, this means the error message says that the required resource, or you can say the restaurant was not found. In the else part is going to be something more generic. And then what we'll do is that we'll say that show error message with that, and take that out as well. So I think once you do that, it's like your API call will be handling all these things, and pretty much this is pretty much what we want. So that's one thing. Now we'll go to our restaurant details screen, and this is basically a screen where we will be showing all these things. So now one thing that is important over here is that that your that the screen that we are going to show is a scrollable screen. Let's say So this is basically a scrollable screen, and user can scroll the screen from top to bottom. So there are two ways. One way is to make only this part scrollable, or like only this part scrollable, and one is to make this whole screen scrollable. I'm gonna make this whole screen scrollable because that makes sense. So to do that, what we will do is that we'll go to Android Studio, and I'll make a lazy column. Okay, and that lazy column is going to be modifier dot fill max size. Okay, now if you can look into this design that we have this header section, kind of a header section that has this big image and these two buttons, and then after that we have this thing. So I'll make three sections. One section is going to be this, other section is going to be this, and then one section is going to be this list section. So if you have like some scenario like this where you have like static thing, like we know the count of this, we also know the count of this, but this can be like anything. It can be like zero, like from zero to anything. So if this kind of scenario appears, how you can handle it in the lazy column is that you can make items for yourself. A single item means that this is basically going to be a single composable, and multiple items, like if you have multiple items, for that you can use items as well. So first, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use only item over here, and then the next thing is going to be again item. These are the two things that are going to be item. But before that, what I'm gonna do is that I'll make a composable and call it function details header. So this is important. And over here we will be using two different buttons. One is going to be on back button, that is in the one button that we have, and the second one is that on favorites button. When you use it, click on that, right? And now we know that this is going to be a box straight away, and that is going to be fill max size. But instead of fill max size, let's make it a fill max width. Okay, now now we have this width that is there. The next thing is that we need an image, but this time I'm going to use a async image, because you know that I have a URL. So I will pass that URL to this, make it null. For the content description, we make it, we'll also make this fill max width. The content scale should also be fill, that should be fit. Okay, so that it fits inside. And if you want, you can add some more things. For example, if you want a clip to that, and let's say make a round corner shape, but only the bottom section you want to change, so that you can add some sort of bottom padding to that. The next thing that we can do is that we can create, let's call it a icon button. Okay, now over here what we will do is that we'll call it an image. Okay, and then that is going to be painter resource r dot drawable dot back button. This is for, okay, content description gonna be null. Okay, and now over here we'll make a modifier, that is modifier dot size, and make it, I'll make it at a 48 dp. This is one, and there will be another one that is going to be that as well. And we also want one more thing, and that is to add some padding from each side. So 16 dp to this, and we'll also use the padding, same padding over here for this, and this is going to be favorite image, favorite. Okay, and that is going to be back. Okay, so these are the things that we have done. With on click, we don't need these on click, so it will be just on back button for this, and this is going to be on favorite buttons. Okay, so now if you slightly follow this. This means that now we have these images, but we haven't aligned them. So make sure to align them. This is going to be top start, the first button that will go to the start of that. Okay. And the second one is a line that is going to be top end. So also make sure to do that. Now we don't have these buttons, so let's just import those images that we have. So now once you export them, you can go to resources, then inside that drawable, right click image like a vector asset, and from over here you can select that file that you created. So I just created this back button. You can see that now I have this back button. Just go and create that. Same is going to be done for the other button that we have, the favorite button. So that is this. Now once you do that, you'll get these both these things the way they were. Now let's just look into the code. And now if I look into the code, this means that this image, sorry, this back button and this header and this image is now placed as per the requirement. And we don't need the name over here, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay, so now this header is there. So what I'm going to do is that I'll use that header like this and do something like this in this case. Now the next part is, as you can see, the next part is the title, and then we have this ratings that says see reviews as well, and then this description that we have. So in that case, what we are gonna do is that we will be saying that we make a new composable first thing, right? And that is going to be function restaurant details. Okay, and restaurant details mean that now it's going to be a column. And again, this column should also be modifier dot fill max width. And we also want to add some padding from each side, so make sure to add 16 dp to that. And now the first thing that we need in this specific section is going to be the title string and the description string. So these are the two things that are important to be added. In this case, what I'm going to do is that I'll create a text that is going to be the title, and this is typography dot, no, that is going to be title, right? Style is equals to material theme dot typography dot title large, which means that it will be a bigger in term of that. The next thing that we need is that we need a short description for that. And other than that, we also need a raw that basically draw some sort of a rating stuff. So here's pretty much how it should look. Material theme dot color scheme. Okay, and we also need a spacer. The spacer is important because it should be added to almost every place that we have. Let me just get to the design. It says stars, then 4.5 plus 30 is another thing, and then we have this text button that says see review. So just make another, this is going to have something like, okay, we don't have these values coming from the backend yet, but we'll definitely implement it once we have these, and once we are storing these things. So make sure to add a spacer to this as well, and again another spacer that is something like this. Okay, now the last thing is going to be image text image, sorry, that's going to be text button. Okay, and that means that this basically means should have a text that says view all reviews. Okay, and then also we need to make the color to be material theme dot color scheme dot primary, which means that basically it will be showing an orange color to this. And also, other than that, do we have everything ready? Yes, I think we have everything. Make sure the alignment vertically should be centered as well, so that it doesn't mix up with these things. Now we have this thing. So over here, we're just gonna add this title, and that is going to be name and description. For now, let's just use lorem ipsum because I think we don't have that. The last thing is going to be the items that are there. So now this is important in term of, because now these things are should be there and they will be there, but the item are dependent on uh, if we have the data that is available. So for that case, what I'm gonna say is that I'm gonna say wall underscore UI state is equals to restaurant view model. So now for that, we are going to say restaurant view model is equals to hilt view model. And now we'll make it something like this view model and then collect a state. So now this is there, right? And now, so basically inside the lazy column, let's create a when statement, UI state dot value. And now based on that, we'll set whatever the uh, state of the view model is. So we'll set that. And now let's just import the events, like we imported the loading, now success. And we don't have like the restaurant menu item yet implemented, so let's just import the restaurant event as well. And now there is a missing curly brace, so let's just add it to the bottom. Okay, and now we do this. I think once we do that, this means now it will check if there's like if it's there's some sort of loading. What we can do is that maybe we can make it a modifier, sorry, make it a circular progress indicator as well, and make it a column, right? And that column should contain these values like this. And this is again the vertical and the horizontal arrangement should be center for this, like this, right? And in term of food items, this is important. So what we'll do is that we'll make it items, that is going to be taking food items as this. And for now, let's just list them down like this in term of nothing. Let's make it the way it is like this over here. So that's one thing. All these things that are there are one thing. Now, one more thing that is very important, and that is at as soon as we get that restaurant ID, will make the view model to like go and fetch that detail screen, that screen for us, right? So that it can load the uh, stuff that we need. And now we get over here into the main activity, and now over here what we can do is that we can create a serializable object and call it object and call that as restaurant details. No, important thing is that this is going to be a data class now, and what it requires is that require this, require name, it requires the restaurant image URL, it requires a description. Okay, so now let's just get rid of this. Okay, so we have this restaurant details, and now we go over here into this main activity, and let's just replicate this, and over here you'll name it as release details. Now that is release detail, and then over here from that restaurant, what we need is that we need to make the IDs to get. So for that, what I'm gonna say is that route is equals to IT to route, and that means that should take restaurant details as an object. Now we got this route. Okay, so over here we'll make that to restaurant details screen. First thing that it requires a nav controller. Second thing is that it requires a name. So for that, we're going to say that restaurant name. Then we have image URL for that, and let's slightly change in that. Okay. So the next thing is that it requires an image URL, and the third one is going to be restaurant ID. And to make to be super sure, what you can do is that you can add these parameter names to this so that it just doesn't mix up if you are not aware of the positioning of the um, method parameter. So you can use something like this as well. And now this will, what it will do is that you'll get all these things. And now I'll run the code and see if the things that we have done are actually working. One more thing that we need to do is that we need to definitely call this screen when user click on that, and that is going to be the restaurant screen. So we go to home screen, and then home, inside this home screen, we have all these things that you can see. This is the section where the restaurant has been selected. So there are two ways. One way is to do it through view model, which is basically view model dot on restaurant selected. This is basically gonna take that, create a member function. Definitely we need to do that. So that is something like this. And now over here inside this navigation, it says that navigate to detail. So what we can do is that we can make it a data class. And now this data class should contain all those three things that it requires. For example, the name, and it should contain the wall image URL as a string, and ID as a string as well. So these are the three things that are required for this. Now what it should do is that it will be saying view model scope dot launch, and that is going to be something like this, which means that now it will be navigating to details. Okay, and inside this uh, home screen, uh, where do we have this? We don't have the uh, call implemented. So what we can do is that you can say something like launched effect, make sure it's a unit, right? And now we will say view model dot navigation event. Now collect the latest, and now it's something like, if it's this, it's a restaurant, navigate to details, which means this, if else. I'm not sure if we have any else for now, but let's say we have this. And now over here we don't need this. For in fact, what we will do is that we will be creating restaurant details, and over here it requires a couple of things. For example, it requires a title. So for that, what you can do is that you can call it it dot name. This, no, sorry, this is not the restaurant details. That is going to be restaurant inside this navigation. And it, now you can see that it takes the restaurant ID. So we're going to pass the ID. This is going to be name, and the last one is going to be the image URL. So once you pass these three, which means now it will do something like that. So a lot of codes that we have uh, implemented without any visible implementation of that. Now let's just try to look into the implementation of, okay, how it looks. uh, so let's just run the code and wait, the code is executed. Okay, good thing is that all the code built successfully, which is a good thing. Now we are over here, and this is there. You can click on item, and now one another issue that I've identified is that when I click on this specific section, it doesn't work. In fact, I have to click in this section, which is not a good idea. But one good thing about this whole stuff is that we got the image on top. Definitely, it's not looking good, but we got the image. Then the next thing was that we got the name, and this looks pretty dope. The description is also there, and then we got the name of the items that we have, so we can like just list down those items as well. So that was like the initial step of this, and now what we will do is that we will fix these UI issues and problems, and also will also implement this item for this. Okay, so to implement the rest of the stuff, the first thing that we need over here is that we need to create a design for the product. So we'll be saying composable function food item view, and that it should contain a food item as an object, right? And now from over here, let me just zoom it. Okay, now over here what we will do is that we'll create a column. Okay, and that column means that we'll say modifier dot padding, and that padding should be somewhat around 8 dp. And then for the rest of the thing, let's say we have width. The width of this object is around 162 by 216. Okay, so we get over here, like we'll say 162 dot dp by dot height is 216 dot dp. Okay, so now we got this, and then what we will do is that we'll also clip it so that it is round corner shape, right? So once we have that, the rest of the stuff that we need is that we need an image, like a async image, and this async image is going to contain food item dot image URL that is there, and the content description will be null for this. That's one thing. Second thing is that we also want this image to be round corner, and the image should be, let's call it crop fit inside. I think fit should be fine. And what else we can do, we can add a aspect ratio for this. Okay, so that it is like a one-on-one, means it's a square box. And the next thing that we can do is that we can create another column that says the name and the price. If I'm not wrong, what do we have over here in the bottom? We have a name and a description. So it's going to be name, and that is going to be a description. We'll make sure that it's not more than one line, and also the color is going to be gray. That's one thing. And we also would be max lines should be one for this, or for both, I think, so that it doesn't break the design issues that we have. So max line should be one for these. And we also need padding, but this padding should be vertical because we already have this horizontal padding inside it. No, we don't have it, so let's just add the internal padding, or I think we don't need that. So yeah, we let's just get rid of that. Okay, so we have padding as 8 dp, and the sign should be dollar sign because we'll be working on that. What do we have left? I think that's pretty much what is there. Or no, I think there are a couple of more things. So what I'll do is that I'll create a box, and that box will contain the image that we have. uh, this was the image, so let's just cut that, add it inside it. And the next thing that we need to do, it's not box fill max width should be the size. Okay, and now the next thing that we need to do is that we will be creating a couple of things. For example, for price, we will be creating a text that is going to be price. So that is going to be food item dot price. Okay, and again, this should be something as like this. We'll definitely implement the formatting for prices, but for now, let's just use the way it is. So something like this, that is one thing. Along with that, we will be using a couple of things. For example, we'll be using padding and um, okay, something is wrong. Okay, so now that's pretty much what it does. I'll just make sure that it is something like this, and that is going to be body small, so like a smaller size for the text. And we also be using this to be on the top start to be there. Okay, the next thing is the a sorry, that is going to be a button, and this should be an icon. Or okay, this over here we will be using image that says painter resource r dot drawable dot favorites, right? And that is going to be null. Okay, and along with that we will be using modifier dot size, and the size will be smaller for this image specifically because again this is smaller size, so it's close to 28 dp. We will be using 28 dp so that it's around, and we'll align it to top end. Oh sorry, that is going to be align alignment as top end. Oh sorry, this alignment should go over here. Okay, modifier dot align to be top end. And what else is there? We can add a padding a.dp from both sides for this as well, and for this as well, so that it leaves some spacing from top. And after padding, it should also have a horizontal padding of 16 dp, so it's like use that white color. And other than that, we also have a rating bar, since like the rating section will go to the and we don't have a constraint layout like over here. uh, what I'm gonna do is that I'll slightly use above, so inside that image, so that look doesn't look like that in fact. So for that, what we can do is we create a raw once again. Okay, and that raw gonna contain the food, not name. In fact, this is going to be a hard coded thing. So let me just see what it is. It has rating, star image, and then the rating number. So it has three things. First one is a text that says 4.5, and that is going to be title small. Okay, then we have an image that we should use. I'm going to use an icons. Okay, and that is going to be icons dot field dot star, right? That is going to be null. Modifier dot size is going to be 14 dot dp, so that it's not like a bigger. And the last one is going to be something like 21 or something, so just a number. This will basically, we will update once we implement the rating structure. And what we will do is that we'll say modifier vertical alignment center vertically, so that they are centrally aligned. And we also need a spacer, that is modifier dot size as 8 dot dp, and same gonna be doing it over here like this. So I think that's pretty much what we need. And now this food item will be used over here, where we are using just the name. Where is that? Over here, like we, we have this section, right? So just one more thing that we can do is like if food item dot size is greater than 0, so we'll do something else. We can do something else, so that if like the list is empty, we can show some sort of no response, stuff like that. But let's use it like this. And now this food item is gonna be something like this. Lastly, we can say something like this. And now, okay, let's just use it this way. Now we'll run this, and now when we run this, you'll see that there will be some issues. Okay, pretty bad, to be honest. To some extent, we don't have the title and that stuff, and the images are not as expected. They were supposed to be a square. The rating should be down as well. So there are some issues. Let's just try to fix those. I'm not sure why it's like that, but let's see what made mistake we have done. So we'll get over here, and this is, if I'm not wrong, yeah, over here the size is 28. The padding should not be there, so I think that is the reason it's adding some padding, and that's one thing. It's top end desync images fill max size. I think the aspect ratio is creating an issue, so let's just not use that. Now let's just try again to see. Okay, so we have cleaned the build, rerun the code, and now let's see how it looks. I'll click on that, and now you can see we still have this issue with the button, the image issue. So let me see. Let's just do one thing. Let's just not use this. In fact, we can use the image in itself, right? So that's one thing. And we can also align this as well. And you can also clip this to make a circle shape, so that it's a round circle shape that it takes. Okay, this one thing, and it is supposed to be on the top end, and this price should go to the top section. And then what I'll do is that I'll say fill width, so that it fills the width and scale accordingly. What else is there? That is, yeah, this alignment, it doesn't have any alignment, so we'll align it to be the bottom, sorry, align, and let's call it bottom start, so that it aligns that rating bar to the bottom. And then I'm not sure why these images should be there as well along with the box, but it could be that they are being covered by the images and the things like that. Let's see. Let's just rerun the code this time again. Okay, Okay, so I think the image is problem creating. It's like covering all this image, and I am not sure why. So to fix that, what we can do is that we can adjust the height and width of that. So like it has a 147 of height. So that's something that we should add to the image. So yeah, okay, I got this issue. That is going to be fill max width, and for height we can say that is 120, 147. I think it's a 147.dp. Let's just add it to this and make it fill max size internally. Now let's rerun this again. Let's hope this time. I think there is something wrong. Let's just clean the project and rerun this. Okay. Yeah, it's much better now, right? Now you can see that it is something like this. It's showing that card on top, and then it's showing the name and the description of that as well. It still have some issues. For example, the image should be covering all the spaces from top, and it should also have like those round something. So I think to fix that, rather than saying fill bound, let's say fit. So let's use, let me see. And yes, now you can see that the image icons are properly aligned. Definitely we need to add some background to this so that it's visible. But I think other than that, everything is looking as expected. So we'll just do one thing, and that is go to this rating raw that we have over here. And for this, what we can do is that we can make it a clip and call it a round corner shape to have like 16.dp, and then we'll add some background to this with color white. Right. I think once we do that, this will be adjusted accordingly. You can add some padding like horizontal as 8 dp. I think that should be enough. So once that is done, it will be the white color will be adjusted and it will look slightly better. Right, so now we have something like this. Now the problem is that we were supposed to have two items on side by side rather than this, and since we are using column, it's not possible with that. So to help with that, what we can do is, when we have this lazy column, what you can do is that you can use a lazy vertical grid. That's one thing. Second thing that it requires is that it requires column. Okay, so now let's call it fixed and add these two into it, right? And now this is basically, this remains same over here. This is again important to load accordingly, so you can add it as this. And now let's just try how it looks. So okay, so once you do that, like it fixes one thing, but it breaks down the other one. Like now, this buttons, all this header goes to one side, and the description part goes to one side. So basically, to fix this, what we'll do is that we'll use this specific solution from Stack Overflow. What it does is that basically it creates a customized grid column, and which basically, rather than using an item, you can use grid item. So what I'm going to do is that I'll copy these functions that we have, like these two functions, right? And what I'll do is that I'll get over here and go to my widget section, and down the widgets will just replace those like this. Okay, we'll have to definitely import these things that are important. So just import whatever is required, and now we have these things like this. Okay, and the next thing that we need to do is that we'll go back to our details screen, right? And rather than using a lazy vertical grid, we'll get back to our lazy column, and let's call it a lazy column. Okay, now these items are there, but the only change that we want is that we want these items to be updated. So for that, what I'm gonna do is that I'll use it like this. Okay, and along with that, now it requires the column size, so I'll use 2 so that it adjusted accordingly. And now let's just clean the build first. Okay, so just clean the project, rerun this code. Okay, so now the app is executed. Let's click on that, and now you can see that the stuff that we require is working as expected. Only this top image is left to be fixed. We need to fix that image so that it covers the whole space, and I think the rest is fine. So to fix that header thing, we know that the header should be somewhat around like 233 dp. So let's just close this, go to my restaurant header. Where is my restaurant header? Okay, so now over here we have this async image that is something like this. First thing that we need to do is that we need to make it a crop so it can fill the width. And the second thing is that we need to have an height for this, that is, let's say 200 dp. And now I'll just clean this project once again, and once we clean this, I'll just okay, now let's just go over here, and you can see this is now clear. And we have this specific list that we have. You can definitely click on it and it will take you to the details of this specific product. But I think other than that, we have pretty much what we wanted, and the design wise, it looks pretty cool, right? One more thing that we can do is that we can add a slight shadow to this, like we have over here, so that it's slightly different. And other than that, we also have like this thing. So now right now when I transfer it, just like navigate, but what I want is that I want to add some shade transition animation to this. So let's say when there is this specific element takes some sort of view, sorry, so basically this animation is slightly changed than what it is right now. So to do that, first thing is that we need to add this shadow that is there. And to add some shadow, what we need is that if you go to your home screen and this category item, you can see that we have something like this. So I'm just going to copy the same shadow, and we need to add this before the background and clip. So we'll go over here into the details screen, over here in the food item view where we have all these things. So we'll just add this shadow, and we'll also add the background to this as well, so that we have a white background as well. And now when I run this, we'll get some sort of lighter animation. uh that's round corner should not be like this, it should be 16, right? And now we'll click on that. Now you can see that there is a slight shadow that we wanted. We have to like add some padding to these items, but I think other than that, it looks pretty good, right? And that is basically what we wanted. Now one last thing that is left in this video is that, let's say when we click on that, it's like a normal animation that is there, but what I want is that I want some shade transition. So let's say if this there is like some sort of transition, what it should do is that it should take this image and scale it to show it on the next screen. So to implement a shared transition, what we need is that we need to make a couple of adjustments. To implement the shared element transition, what we'll do is that we'll go first to our lib.toml file and add this dependencies that we have. So let's say we will be using animation for that. That is important. I think the rest we have is that we have the Android X UI is there, and Android X Foundation should also be there. Okay, we don't have that, so we'll just use that as well. Okay, now the foundation is there as well, and then the navigation is already there. Now, make sure that you have like the updated version, like latest version, so that it's like not an issue in term of when you implement that. Like it's not an issue when you implement so that you have like the latest version, right? Now, once you implement that, the next thing that you'll do is that you'll go over here to this main activity and you have this nav host, right? So inside this nav host, what you'll do is that you'll say shared transition layout, right? This is important. And the next thing that you will do is that you will take all these animations that we have, all this nav host, right? And place it inside this shared transition layout that you have. And since it's an experimental, what you can do is that you can add this to your system. Okay, so now this is something that is like this. Now the thing is that what we will be showing is will basically animate from this home screen, because home screen is the one that is responsible for that. So to implement that, what I'm gonna do is that I'll say shared transition scope dot home screen. This is basically more like an extension function, and you'll have to opt in for the for experimental API. So that's important that you do that. Along with that, you'll also use the animated visibility scope as well. So these are the things that are important. Make sure to use it before the view models so that you're like not mixing up stuff. Okay, so now once you add that, the next thing is that you need to look for that image view that basically is being shown in the list item. So that is the restaurant list that is being called, and along with that, inside that list, this is the section where we have where basically we have this transition. So basically, to over here, what we need to do is that we need to link it to a specific key. So when you do that, you like look for shared element, you won't find, and you won't be able to find that, because this specific restaurant item is not an extension of a shared element scope. So make sure that it's like a shared transition inside that shared transition scope, and it's an opt-in for that. And now when you click on that and search for shared element, you'll see something like this. So now over here, there are like two different things that you need to do. The first one is to make this and call it remember shared content state, and the key is important. So let's call it an uh, sorry, that is going to be image slash the restaurant ID. That is important, the first thing. Second thing that you need to pass is the animated visibility scope, and since we don't have any scope over here, what I'm gonna do is that I'll pass that animated visibility scope over here as a method, and now I'll use that over here. Okay, so basically what we did is that we added this shared content state, and we linked it with this image so that it's linked when clicked, and it will be taken there. And if like there is anything else, for example, if you want to show the name, so like over here for name, we'll be using the same thing, because over here what we'll say that basically modifier dot shared element, and this time it's not gonna be image, in fact it's, let's call it title. Okay, so now we link the image and the title with it, and that's done. It will definitely complain because of obvious reason. So make sure that all the parents that are basically accessing should have these things set, and also it will take an auto animated visibility scope, so we need to add that as well. Is there anything that is left? I think it should be over here. Right. Okay, so that's done. Now this will complain, and this will complain because we need to pass the animated visibility content to this. So once you do that, that's pretty much what we need. And this is basically the first screen, the first implementation that we have. And now when you go to your home screen in the main activity, it will complain because it needs that animated visibility scope. And so for that, what you'll do is that you'll use this. Uh, and I think if you pass this, this should be enough because that contains that animated visibility scope and it should work. And the same thing is going to be done now for this as well. So we'll get over here, change that to shared transitions, sorry, shared transition scope dot restaurant detail, and again we need to opt in for that. And over here, like over here inside this header, sorry, along with that we also need it as an animated visibility scope. That is important. And then inside this header, we need to make sure that we pass the animated visibility scope, and also this is an extension of a shared transition scope. Okay, now that's one thing, and this is for the image. So now you have this image URL that is being used over here, and over here it is going to be the same thing. It's going to be shared element state, remember shared content state, and the key is again going to be image slash restaurant ID. So we don't have that restaurant ID over here, so let's just call that restaurant ID, add that. And now over here what we'll do is that we'll call it restaurant ID. That's one thing. Second thing is that we need to define animated visibility scope. So I think that's pretty much what it is. Just make sure that the things that we use are basically correct in term of usage. And we also need to pass animated visibility scope as well. Okay, so I think that's what we should do. Now make sure that the IDs that you use are correct and there is no issue with that. Like for example, over here we have this restaurant ID, image slash restaurant ID, and over here it should be the same for the image for now. It's in the details screen. Yeah. Now that is one thing, and again we also need similar thing for the other part as well. So now we are gonna use the same thing in the restaurant detail section as well. So let's call this shared transition scope, and along with description we will be using these things like the restaurant ID and animated visibility. And now over here we know that the title is the one that is responsible for that, so we'll add a modifier dot shared element, and now that is going to be something like this pretty much. And I think that should be enough. Let's call it animated visibility scope. What else do we need? I think we need to pass restaurant ID as well. And once you do that, that's pretty much I think what is there as a requirement for shared transition. And now let's just run it and see if the transition the way we expect is working. Okay, so now it's running, and you can see, like, you see this navigation, the images are basically adjusting accordingly, and this is basically the same. So this looks pretty cool, right? And this is basically how the shared transition should work. Just one thing that I'm missing, and we need to make this whole item clickable. So let's just make that clickable, and then I think we should be done for this video. And to make this whole item clickable, we need to make sure that this section over here is clickable. So let's make it clickable like this. I think it should be over here like this. Okay. So once you do that, I think we are done with this video, or once basically this is basically implemented. Okay, now you can see that I can click on this whole element rather than this one section, and I can remove that on click functionality from here. But I think that's pretty much what we want, and you can like reduce the animation of that as well. So that's pretty much what it is. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please comment down below. If you didn't, please share your suggestion or feedback on what we can improve, and I'll see you in the next video. So till then, happy coding. Bye. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please like the video, comment down below, and share the video with your friends. For similar content, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if you have any queries, you can join my Discord server where we discuss different kind of things. So thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great day. Bye.